Good evening, or good morning, or even good afternoon, depending on what time of day it is for you. It is evening time for me, hence why I said good evening. Just give me a minute here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just need to adjust a couple of things, as always is the case when I'm just shooting from the hip, as I do. Just getting things set up here. Yeah, apply those, and then I can shut that. Yes, I did actually. Yes, thank you. Okay. Anyway, right, so this evening, unfortunately, I am flying solo. Not by design, just, things happen, real world occurrences. So unfortunately, I don't have any guests this evening. So this episode really will be just jungle drumming along. And I apologize for being somewhat one-sided this evening, but again, hey, these things happen. Right, so I've got a mixture of news this evening. Some things aren't even, fresh, hot off the press. It was just last week, obviously, we did the E3 extravaganza. And so there was a couple of news items that we didn't discuss because, last week the entire focus was just E3 content. But there was one quite important headline that happened, and actually a press release was released on the 16th of June. And it was from our friends over at IO Interactive. And so basically on their website, they've got this post up saying, the future of IO Interactive. For those of you unaware, IO Interactive, I would hope if you've played games, you've heard of them, right? They've done all sorts of things, Freedom Fighters, Mini Ninjas, Kane and Lynch, and of course the infamous Hitman series. Now, the latest Hitman was a bit of a mixed bag, really. They decided to go with episodic content, which, love or hate it, I think really affected their sales, to the point that IO Interactive was in danger. It looks like they were going to be sold off. A lot of people were concerned, upset. It was quite scary, and I would imagine very scary for those at the studio themselves. But basically, this press release that they put out is really, really nice, to quote some of it. There are many tales of hope, dreams, hardship and joy within these walls. We have never strived for the expected or predictable. Instead, we're always in pursuit for what feels original and real. Our passion and determination has never been greater, and so that is why we've decided, it is not the time to stop, as we have many more exciting and original tales to tell. So they announced today, well, the day of the release, right, the 16th, that IO Interactive is officially an independent studio. They concluded their negotiations with Square Enix, and they agreed to a management buyout. The big crucial thing, though, of course, is that IO Interactive keeps all the rights to the Hitman IP. And that was the issue. That's what, most of us fans were worried about. Were they going to retain, the rights to the Hitman franchise? So, hey, it's great news for all of us, that have anything to do with gaming. And all the best to IO Interactive. Hopefully they continue their success, and hopefully the next Hitman, does better. I hate saying that. It's not that the newest Hitman was a bad game. It was just the episodic content. They must have thought, oh, it's the flavor of the month, this is going to be cool. But their sales figures just, don't seem to tell the same. Hey, Caleb, thanks for the tweet there, bud. Much appreciated. Now that they've released it all in one nice package with all the episodes, maybe they'll see their numbers, their sales numbers actually climb up, and I certainly hope so. It's a game that I haven't played, and it's a shame because I've played all of the Hitman games, but if I can find a deal on it, maybe I will pick it up. We shall see. Right, continuing on with games, there's another game that I haven't played, but I've watched plenty of people play it. Another game that has been quite rocky, and of course that is the launch of Friday the 13th. So this article's from PC Gamer, and it's basically just talking about how the developers say sorry with a new update and free stuff for everyone. For those who didn't know, Friday the 13th had a very rocky start, right? almost immediately on console. I think Xbox specifically, but I'm not sure if the PlayStation had the same issues. Because it is on PlayStation, right? I would imagine. Yeah, I think. See, now I'm even doubting myself. This is what happens when I'm on my own. I don't have my crew to back me up and help me remember things. But anyway, an online game, right, where, you know, the whole kind of concept is pretty cool. You know, it's Friday the 13th. Obviously, there's Jason. You've got to watch out for him, and you're trying to just survive and not run into him. So it sounds really cool. It's quite gory, you know, quite intense. But the online aspect was completely borked. Servers were having major issues. You effectively couldn't matchmake. You couldn't play online unless you made a custom game, right? So thankfully, if you're on Xbox, you could use the LFG tool from the dashboard, find people, or even if you've got a bunch of buddies, make a custom game, and then you could play. But oh my goodness, the server issues they were having, it was such a shame for the developers because they're a small team, and they were just getting absolutely hammered on social media. You know, and even post-launch, you know, they've still been having issues. And as of right now, from what I understand, there's been multiple patches and things are looking a lot better. But the key thing is, you know, that the actual developer, Alphonic, you know, has decided that it's time to try to start making up for that rocky start. So to quote them, "We do want to make note that you are being heard, and updates will continually be rolling in. We have a lot planned to continue this trend, but we hope this first one will be interesting to you as we move towards more and more for this game." So basically, June 20th, which was just the other day, added a new retro model for Jason, 2 new costumes for each of the counselors, you know, the camp counselors, doles out 13,000 customization points to all players, and then starting the 23rd, this weekend, there's going to be a double XP weekend. So again, the studio continues to say, look, hey, our thanks to the community for their support, their feedback, their concerns, and their suggestions. You know, it's so nice to see that. They've taken the high road. I mean, when you saw some of the abuse they were receiving online, I mean, it was, you can imagine, right? I don't have to spell it out for you. You can imagine the type of crap they were getting online. But, you know, they responded. You know, they didn't bite by any means. They didn't get snarky, they didn't get nasty. They said, look, you know, we appreciate that, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't respond to everybody, obviously. But from what I saw, the tweets they did respond to, you know, they did so in a very respectful manner. But so there's been a lot of improvement. Same on PC, same on Steam. Matchmaking searches longer, and also it searches for lower pinged games. There's been matchmaking optimizations. The lobby countdown timer now closes menus at the 3-second mark instead of when, you know, it starts. A lot more of environmental kill locations to all the maps. You know, hey, if you've played Friday the 13th, you've got to love those environmental kills. Leaving a match while a party leader now prompts you to either disband or take the party with you. There's also been security updates to prevent account spoofing, animation improvements, dynamic camera improvements. What's quite interesting is they've increased the XP penalty of team killing fellow counselors. So, yeah, to minus 1,000 XP. Previously, it was only minus 200 XP. But they've also fixed, oh god, the list of fixes, I'm not even going to go through it, right? I mean, we're talking about exploit locations, floating items on the map, multiple achievement bugs. Yeah, a lot of fixes. So it's nice to see that Friday the 13th is hopefully, you know, in a better place now, because it is one of these very unique games. Yeah, it's a theme that, okay, yes, this whole survival kind of thriller thing has been done time again, but the fact that, you know, it's the Friday the 13th franchise, I think, adds a lot of interest, because, you know, who the hell wouldn't want to play as Jason, or likewise be a cool counselor in those cheeky little shorts that they wear. But yeah, so Friday the 13th devs, they've came out, they've said sorry, and they've got updates that are both been implemented and on the go, and there's a bunch of free stuff for everyone, so sounds like a pretty win-win situation to me. Speaking of survival, well, this isn't really survival, is it? It's more BR, Battle Royale. Obviously, you remember last week, E3, we talked about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And, we know that it's coming to Xbox. So this article I have is just from express.co.uk, newspaper over here in the UK. And basically, it's talking about PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Xbox One release date. Here is when the full launch is planned. So yes, it's no new news that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is coming to the Xbox One. But what we didn't have was an absolute firm date. We knew that it was being announced and it was this year. And I think a key thing is to say is that, look, even so they announced it's coming to Xbox One, the devs are looking at various platforms to try to, introduce their game, to a wider audience. But at this point in time, they have nothing further to announce. So PlayStation guys, don't feel left out. There's a good chance. I mean, they're probably going to do it, I would imagine. I'm not sure we'll get PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds on the Switch. Not sure about that, but PlayStation, hopefully. Anyone that is unfamiliar with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, well, you probably don't watch a lot of Twitch or Mixer or even look at YouTube, because it is just everyone is playing it. It's the popular game, the flavor of the month, so to speak. Oh, now this is interesting. See, this is actually contradicting what I just said. Allegedly, it will not be coming to PS4 and is going to remain an Xbox One exclusive. Again, that's as of right now. But oh my, see, I didn't see that. That's quite strange. No, okay, no. I'm sorry. See, I thought I was right here. Originally, they said it's not coming to PS4, but the update just says that, look, we're always looking at various platforms. So okay, there's a bit of contradicting information here, but I wouldn't rule anything out just yet. But so anyway, the Battle Royale title has, it's sold more than 3 million copies since its early access release on March 23rd. The peak concurrent users, how many folk are playing at once, can top 200,000 and hits the number one most watched game on various platforms, several times a week. But so it's going to be coming to the Xbox One preview program. Let's see, do we have a firm date? Where was it? Come on, where was it hiding? Where are we hiding? I know I had it here somewhere. There's so much just info here. Is that, come on, we had a date here. I'm sure we did. No, I am not seeing an actual firm date, unless they've withdrawn it. All it's saying is the fall. I could have when I put this up earlier. When I say earlier, I mean the other day. I'm sure it had an actual date on it. Give me just a sec. PUBG. Let me see if I can find another source. No. Okay. Apologies. I could have sworn there was a date unless they took it away. As of right now, it's supposed to hit the early release program in the fall, right, in the autumn. They did say there's going to be a patch for the Xbox One X, so that makes me think, we are probably looking at around October. Maybe September, but obviously because the Xbox One X comes out November 7th. So that would make sense, but September, October, it's released on the One and the One S, and then it'll be patched later via the One X. But the key thing is that's going to be early access. The actual full version, they're saying, is not going to be ready until 2018. But so the whole point of doing the game preview program is for them to be able to get feedback directly from players, which the dev is saying, look, that has been the key to the success on Steam. You know, they've been taking feedback and they've been trying to adjust things. So there we go. I really apologize. I could have sworn I had an actual date here. I'm certain there was a date, but maybe that was just an early draft and they quickly rescinded it. What a shame. Huh. That is a bit of a shame. But yeah, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You know, I haven't bought it. I haven't played it on PC. I've watched a hell of a lot of it. Yeah, you know, I'll probably... I don't want to hop on the bandwagon, but, you know, I think I'll probably pick it up and give it a try at some point. But there's other games that I want to play. I just noticed today on Steam, you know, I've been a big Warhammer 40k fan. You know, when I was a kid, painted all the models and stuff. Still have most of my collection upstairs hiding away. And the Deathwing, you know, the Space Hulky type game, I just noticed is 40% off on Steam. So I might try to pick that up, because that's again another game that just looks beautiful, but it's got some issues and they're still trying to work through them. But we'll see. Right, where do I want to go next? I'm going to talk about another. Well, this game is. We talked about it during E3, and if you've watched Jungle Drums last week, you know the one thing that I was most excited about during E3 was, of course, and it is stupid because we barely saw any of it, but it was the release of Anthem, right? Anthem looks amazing. So this article is from Eurogamer.net, and it's quite interesting. Remember when we saw, you know, when we first saw Anthem, and it was like, oh wow, you know, you look at the website, and I remember saying to my buds, I was like, oh, you know what, this looks like a direct response to Destiny, because some of the language they used, a shared world online shooter, which there'd been really no other game like that aside from Destiny. I mean, I'm not saying that Destiny created the genre, but, you know, when you think of a shared world, you know, because everyone tried saying, oh, it's an MMO FPS, and they were like, no, it's not. It's a shared world online shooter. So it's just interesting that EA has chosen to describe their game as that. And what's another funny coincidence is this what EA has said, and they have said that Anthem is coincidentally the start of a 10-year journey for EA and BioWare. I remember another company describing their game as a 10-year journey, which no doubt is probably going to be the case. Even so, now we're about to move on to a sequel. Still the franchise, though, so the franchise might last for 10 years, not just the game, Destiny. But anyway, EA said basically that BioWare's ambitious and visually impressive new IP Anthem is going to be the start of possibly, they didn't say absolutely, it's maybe a 10-year journey for them. And it is just quite funny, that rhetoric, you know, that just, it completely echoes, you know, what Activision signed with Bungie, you know, saying that, look, there was going to be this decade-long series, Destiny. But so basically, we got a little bit more info about Anthem. The EA VP, Patrick Soderlund, said, Anthem is a social game where you and your friends go out on quests and journeys. It's a game we've been working on for almost 4 years now. Which I just find that, you know, amazing. Maybe I'm not as in the loop as I thought I was, but this game totally shocked me. It surprised me. I had never heard anything about it. But to hear that they've been working on it for 4 years, and there hasn't been that many leaks that I know of, is well done to them. And they're saying that, look, it's a game that once we launch, it's going to be start of maybe a 10-year journey. Speaking of launch, this is an interesting thing for me, because obviously we know September Destiny 2 hits, and there's a lot of folk that are hyped up for that. You know, Destiny fans, obviously, but there's a lot of people who never played Destiny, PC users who don't own a console, and they're looking at Destiny 2, they're looking at the graphics, the gameplay, and they're thinking, yeah, I'm going to pick that up. So it's quite interesting how EA is choosing to launch Anthem. Instead of trying to launch it at the same time as D2, which could be a hit or a miss. Let's be honest, it could maybe push people to play that rather than Destiny 2. Or at the same time, it could just, flop and not be as polished. They've decided not to release it till next year. And I don't mean early next year either. They're looking at a fall-autumn release. So possibly September of 2018. And I think this speaks volumes. When you look at... So basically, they're waiting, and they're going to let Destiny 2 launch. Let Destiny 2 play out for a year. And this is going to be the point of concern, I think, for us, the community, in the Destiny community, is what are they going to do with Destiny 2? Are they going to hopefully learn from their mistakes and give us more content and paced, a little bit better? Because if anyone remembers Destiny 1, we had just absolute content droughts. If you were at the leading edge, if you were tearing through content like that, maybe not so much if you only played occasionally, but if you were raiding every week and playing on the weekends with your buddies, and or maybe you were someone who was lucky enough to play every day, you reached that point where there was nothing else to do except for grind reputation quite quickly. And you went for a very long time with no new content. During that time, that was when things like Division started playing that, or something else, or Overwatch. So it'll be interesting to see if they learn from that mistake. Because if they don't, I think this is when Anthem is going to really, really cash in. Just think about it. Destiny 2 launches, then a year from now, depending how the content is, maybe the player base lulls a little bit. All Anthem need to do, EA, all they need to do is come in with a cool closed alpha or a closed beta, then an open beta, right around the time of there being a Destiny 2 content drought. And then, there's a good chance a lot of folk might get sucked away. There's no doubt in my mind that faithful Destiny players would always still return. But, if Anthem can really deliver the goods, what you might see is people who take a break to play a bit of Anthem. If Anthem can deliver everything, they might just stick with it. Because certainly at this point in time, it does look like an amazing game. It looks very, very nice. The graphics on it looked excellent. And, it's interesting too, reading some of the rhetoric about, how the devs are talking, saying that, look, basically they push the development team, most of these open world types of games, they end up sacrificing fidelity because it's a technical problem, effectively. But this, EA challenged them, said, look, hey, let's think about this in a way where we don't sacrifice fidelity, and we can basically go into the same kind of graphical level, or even maybe higher, as you would in, a standalone map that's not online. And so sure enough, that's been their ethos going into the development of Anthem. It's too early to tell, if we're going to get something amazing. I mean, even the footage we saw at E3, which most people were passing off as 4K, under closer analysis, if you look, it's not true native 4K. It was at a slightly lower resolution and being what they call checkerboarded into a 4K resolution. So that's a bit of a disappointment. But again, it was an early build for E3. So hopefully Anthem will be, native 4K on PC and as well as the Xbox One X. But it'll be interesting to see how it performs on other consoles. Your traditional Xbox One. How is it going to look? How is it going to run? Is it going to be the same as Destiny 2 and capped at 30 frames? Because here's another chance for EA to really push, the limit. If they can make this beautiful, gorgeous, entertaining, immersive, a fantastic story, and it runs at 60 frames, I mean, holy shit, there'll be a lot of folk who'll be more than happy waiting until late next year to get their hands on this thing. So it will be interesting to see. Even the article here says, the potential payoff for EA with Anthem is if Destiny is anything to go by, because despite what you think about Destiny, commercially it was a huge success, right? I mean, the figures, the numbers, the money doesn't lie, right? The article does pay, respect to Destiny, saying, look, Anthem has Destiny 2 to contend with. but a year later. And I think that's a really smart move on EA's hands, just to say, nope, instead of launching right now, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait a year, and it's good. It gives them a little bit of time to polish it up and whatnot. So we shall see. Right, a little bit of tech news. Now this is quite funny. If you're younger, and or even new to the PC scene, the chances are you use the built-in audio on your motherboard. Because let's be honest, most motherboards these days, especially the ones with RGB and gaming in the title of them, they have fairly solid sound solutions. But back in my day, back when I was a young boy, that wasn't the case. The sound, if any, because a lot of times motherboards did not have built-in audio, but when it did, it was usually fairly crap. I remember games, really, really early ones, but let's say not even that early, right? We talked about Hitman earlier. The original Hitman, to play it at its best, they used to have this sound protocol. Some of them are definitely still crap, man. Some of them are definitely still crap. They had this thing called EAX. And EAX was a technology from Sound Blaster. Now, Sound Blaster from Creative Labs, they used to be some of the most common and most popular sound cards. I remember my first one was a Sound Blaster. I think it was a 16. Was it called 16 Live? SB Live, I think it was. And I remember when I got it, it was great because, like, my PC at the time, all I had was the built-in audio, which built-in audio back in those days was beeping and booping. It wasn't like actual, you couldn't play music. It was just a series of beeps. So like playing Doom, for example, it was just like wah, 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 wah. But anyway, when I got my first Sound Blaster card, and it was a 16-bit audio card, it was absolutely amazing, actually getting proper music, getting speech through the speakers. And that was pretty much the way it was for gaming for decades. You always got a Sound Blaster card if you were a gamer, because most of the games pushed this EAX. So that EAX and EAX 2.0, 3.0, HD, 4.0, so on and so forth. And it was just one of these requirements, so to speak, for some of the AAA games out there. But recently, these things have died a death. There's very few people nowadays that actually bother with an add-in sound card, unless you are, a content creator, like specifically for music. There's a lot of folk who need that extra level of control, whether it's additional front inputs, or different solutions, so there's people out there that use it, but for the most part, gamers don't really. So the last time I had an add-in sound card would have been the Audigy 2, I believe, from Creative Labs. So this bit of news, actually, I found it quite interesting. And again, this is actually from the other week, but because we had the E3 special, we didn't talk about it. And so it's from PC World, and this is about Creative Labs Sound Blaster X AE5, and it's a brand new sound card from Creative Labs. In fact, let's scroll down if I get the image here. Right, so there's the back panel, as you can see. So as you can imagine, your usual optical and all your different outputs. Comes with, what's quite strange, it comes with an RGB strip, and actually on top of the card there's a little let's see if we get another angle here. We're gonna get another angle, maybe not. Yes, that's the power connector, that's not the RGB. But yes, at the top right here there's that connector for the RBG. So a bit strange, but let's get away from that, right? Let's, instead of me being critical of it, let's talk about why in the hell would you bother with a sound card. Maybe you've got an Asus Pro Gamer and an MSI strip, all those types of things, right? You know, badass motherboards have decent audio. The cheaper ones, yeah, not so much. Why would you even bother with a sound card? Well, I'll tell you why. It depends on your setup. For example, if you're using expensive headphones, right? Things like your top of the line HyperX's, your Razers. These are actual Razer headphones, not their fucking crappy headsets, but they're they're pro level headphones. You know, so if you're using expensive headphones, this is going to make a difference. If you've got a really sweet sound setup, again, this is going to make a bit of a difference. This PCI Express sound card is a 32-bit. It's got, I mean, you've really got to be an audiophile to appreciate some of these numbers. But you know, the DAC that's got on it is a Sabre 32 Ultra DAC. DAC stands for Digital Audio Converter. And it's just this one from Creative Labs. What they claim is just basically a notch down from the type of DACs that actual professionals, you know, people like friggin' I can't think of his name, Deadmau5. You know, if you've ever seen images of Deadmau5's audio setup and all his things, you know, he obviously uses professional level equipment. So this card is only a notch down from something like that. And what they're claiming is it's the first consumer card to have a 32-bit DAC. So it's quite interesting. You know, the thing is, if you get into the technicality of audio, it's all about, you know, your voltages and your ohmage. Is that right? Resistance? Yeah, ohms is resistance, right? So a lot of these built-in audio solutions that motherboards have, they don't have a very high ohm rating, so they're not pushing expensive headphones as hard as they could. You know, if you're using a cheap headset, you know, or whatever, it's not that big of a deal. But if you've got some really expensive, I mean, I'm talking, you know, $200 or £100 plus headphones, this is where you're going to see a difference. Because the sound card has the ability to drive up to 600 ohm headphones, it makes such a huge deal. It uses a dual amp, so each channel is getting its own, even so obviously it's going to the one cable, you know, it's got separate amps for the left and the right channel. I could go on and on about the statistics and the numbers for the sound card, but honestly, if you're not an audiophile, it's completely meaningless. The biggest reason for using audio cards back in the day was it took a lot of work off of the processor. Remember, way back when, we were dealing with single cores, only running at 400 megahertz, so anything you could do to take, you know, workload off of the processor was a big deal. But nowadays, you know, we're all rocking multi-cores, whether you're on an i7 that has 4 cores with hyper-threading, or you're on a Ryzen 8 core with the SMT, so you've got 16 effective. You know, core overloading or overworking isn't really an issue nowadays, and that's why so many people don't bother with a sound card. But the thing is, your typical gamer, your typical user, they're missing out. You know yourself. If you've got a really nice television and you're just playing the sound through the built-in speakers, you know yourself, it doesn't sound that great. Now, the minute you team that up with a decent sound bar, or even a really nice 5.1 or 7.1 and more system, Dolby Atmos if you've got the money for it, you know what a difference it makes. And this is the thing. This is what a sound card, an actual add-in PCI Express sound card would do for your system. Again, only if you've got the audio equipment to take advantage of it. If you're using cheap headphones or cheap speakers, this product would be a waste on you. But if you are into your audio, if you do take it seriously, then definitely something to look into. One of the key things is it does support surround sound, which, I mean, I always use surround sound in my computer setups. And it was only when I started to stream and do like YouTube videos and whatnot that I had to stop, because most of the software that we use doesn't capture surround sound. It only deals with a stereo system. So I had to, basically threw away all my surround sound crap for my computer, and now it's usually just headphones or, speakers, a 2.1 system. So a sound card never really made much sense to me. And I was like, there's no need for it. But if you do use surround sound, what this creative card will allow you to do is supports 5.1 analog. So actual, proper separate outputs for everything. It's not done digitally like, well, for example, your motherboard at home likely isn't true analog surround sound. It'll be a digital way of doing it. It has separate outputs, yes, but it'll only have the three. They tend to usually kind of put the center and the sub on the same channel, and the front and the rear and whatnot. But yeah, it looks good. It looks good. And of course, hey, it's got RGB, so it can't be all that bad, right? RGB is the future, it would seem, in the gaming world. Now, we did speak about Destiny 2, so let's talk a little bit more about it. This is from the enterprisedaily.com, and basically it's saying that, hey, Destiny 2 PC is a 4K 60 frames per second masterpiece. But that could be problematic for consoles. This is actually something that's quite close to my heart. We were discussing this just the other day. Now, obviously, I played all through, Destiny. I've got plenty of friends. I play it on the Xbox. And we know that Destiny 2 is, coming out on all the consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, but it's also coming out on the PC. Now, at E3, during the briefings, we didn't see that much of Destiny 2, but outside of the briefings on the actual E3 floor, we saw a lot. There was a lot of gameplay going on, and everyone who touched Destiny 2 on PC in 4K was blown away. If you know any of the other Destiny content creators, you'll have seen their opinions, you'll have seen their tweets, you'll have seen their videos, and it does look amazing. It looks, and the way it's been described here is, the game itself looks almost if it's been specifically created for the PC platform. A lot of times you get these games that look like they're a port, but for some reason Destiny 2, the way that they've developed it, hey bro, how you doing? The way that they've developed it is just, it looks superior than the console versions, and this is the issue that kind of scares me a little bit, because obviously I would prefer to play it with my friends.
Let's talk.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Machete. Much appreciated. Whilst I'd love to play it, obviously with the gang of people I've been playing with for years, with other fellow scholarly gamers and whatnot, the PC version just looks vastly superior. It looks absolutely amazing. It looks like that is going to be a completely different experience compared to console. It's got unlocked frame rates, 4K support. Some of the other things, it's got, right, it's got support for 21:9 aspect ratios, right? So your super wide monitors. You've got custom key mappings. Why, yes, indeed I am, sir. Yes, indeed I am. Custom key mappings, an adjustable field of view, which, anyone that plays a first-person shooter knows that's a big deal, being able to, get that field of view that suits you personally, and built-in text chat features, right? So, I mean, that alone is huge. The ability to actually, as you would expect from a large online game, interact with people that you're not necessarily partied with, people that you're not necessarily friends with, but you can talk to them. And can't say that I know him personally. Yes, well, see, backed by Blizzard, yes. I mean, it was an interesting partnership there. That was specifically so Bungie could take advantage of their infrastructure for the online gaming. And what's going to be interesting is seeing how much, interaction, how much kind of this, cross-theme crap we're going to get. Are we going to start seeing, Destiny skins and Heroes of the Storm, or likewise, are we going to get Overwatch emblems in Destiny? The jury's out on those things. There's a lot of speculation, but there's nothing firm yet. We've got a few denials from both companies saying, oh no, nothing like that, nothing that. But we will see. And then, of course, oh, that's good. That's good for you. Congratulations. You can at least try to spell it right, though. Right, so, yes, basically, right, also the big thing about PC, which, you can't help but, you know, spot the obvious, is mouse and keyboard. It's going to be a different game experience. It's going to be a heck of a lot more accurate. And, you know, there's a good chance that there'll be people that'll migrate. They'll get it on console because they're diehard fans, but, you know, they might try to step up to PC because it does look amazing. What we don't know is what kind of player base is going to be. Is the launch going to be so huge on PC that, you know, they're not ready for the sheer magnitude of people? But, you know, we'll just see. We'll just see. Cross-platform's been interesting. You know, a lot of people kept asking about whether cross-platform was going to be a thing. Oh, good. That's so nice of you. I appreciate it. So basically, yes. You know, I mean, there's been all these questions about whether or not the game is going to have cross-platform play. You know, whether or not PC players are going to be able to play with Xbox or PlayStation 4. At launch, it is not the case. It is definitely not happening right now. But Bungie did say that, look, it's a conversation that constantly happens. You know, they're constantly looking into it. You know, we'll just see. You know, maybe in the future it'll be something that we will get. Who knows? Who knows? Right, so that is me actually got through all of the news items for this evening. It's quicker than planned, again, because we had cancellations last minute, and I've been flying solo. Usually we would last quite a bit longer, because there'd be a bit of back and forth, a bit of debate, and whatnot, but unfortunately, there is not this evening. It is just, myself. So on that note, you know, thanks to everyone who popped by. Again, if you're watching this later on scholarlygamers.com, thank you so much. Make sure to share the video and the articles, as always, with as many folk as you can. And I will be back. I don't think I'll be on Friday, maybe Sunday. We shall see. In the meantime, though, hey, this has been Jungle Drums.
And more
Take
action.
it easy. And hey, thanks for the follow at the end there, Static. Much appreciated. I will catch you later.